Hello! In this video we're going to take a wild ride where I'll try and help you to use a Stream Deck to control multiple mixes in vMix. Okay, let's start off. What are mixes in vMix? So if we have a look at vMix, we have our standard mix, which is up here, so main output, where we can cut and transition between different sources. But depending on which version of vMix you've got, you have 4 submixes. And I've added these down here, 2, 3, and where's 4? 4. But these are the same as the main mix, just a mini version, where you can do transitions. You can cut the inputs, and you can choose whatever you want to be in the program or preview. So why are these useful? Well, you can send them to projector screens, on-set monitors, comfort monitors, different recorders. You could use them as a call return feed. There's lots of different uses for these little submixes, and currently there's an additional 3 as well as the main mix in vMix. But with vMix 26, there's talk that there's going to be 16 mixes. So I thought it would be cool if we could control them all from one fairly small control surface by using a great piece of software called Central Control. Now, if you're not familiar with Central Control, it's an automation software. That's actually selling it quite short. It's got a lot of features in there. It's got countdown clocks, prompter, various different bits of NDI integration, a massive list of devices that it can control. But today we're going to be using it to control vMix using everybody's favorite, the Stream Deck. Okay, so let's dive in and have a look at Central Control. So the first thing we're going to do is add our 2 devices. So the first device we're going to add is the Stream Deck. So we're going to go to the drop down menu here, go to Elgato, and then select the XL, which is what I've got. Each input has an on-off switch underneath here. Before you turn that on, make sure that your device options are set up correctly over here. So in case I have more than one Stream Deck, over here I can choose from the drop down which one's which. But I only have the one XL, so we're going to choose that one. Okay. And then we're going to turn it on. Don't forget to turn it on. That's an epic fail. Okay, so next we're going to add vMix. So we're going to come again over to our drop-down menu. We're going to click the plus, and then we're going all the way down to Studio Coast, which is the posh pedigree name of vMix. And we're going to add that. And when we look over to the side here, the most important thing here is to make sure that... oh, it's done it again. Bear with me, folks. NDI screen capture has stolen my mouse. Talk amongst yourselves while for this slight interlude while I correct this. There it is. There it's back. Okay. So once you've added vMix, make sure that your IP address is correct over here. If you're not sure how you can find that, go to Settings in vMix, then go to Web Controller, and it will display whatever the IP address of your vMix instance is. So I know that mine is 233. Okay, and then turn that on. Oh, it does not like that. Oh, that's because I can't type. It's 223. Okay, here we go. I told you this was going to be a wild ride. Okay, so nice dialog box down the bottom here will tell you what's going on. So it tells me that my Stream Deck's connected, tells me that vMix is connected. Whoop, whoop. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so if we go back here, we've got Stream Deck. There's no software running for this. Elgato's not running, Companion's not running. We're going to be controlling this entirely with Central Control. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is make it a little bit easier to see. So I am going to try and make it all one color. So we're going to come up to Stream Deck Control here, and we're going to go button feedback, set button feedback, and we're going to turn on the default color. And I'm going to go for this green. And I'm going to test it, and I'm going to go apply all. Whoop, whoop. Green buttons. Okay, so now we can kind of see what we're doing. Right, so next thing we want to do is we're going to set up 4 buttons for each of our mixes. I'm going to choose these 4 buttons here. So let's have a look in Central Control. I'll talk you through how we assign those. So We go to central control, we go to our Stream Deck and we hit controls. That brings up this window here. If you've not seen central control before, these are the buttons on your controller. Down here is a layer, so you can have multiple layers on the same controller. This will be where your actual function associated with the button is, what you've programmed to it. And this is a list of options for each device. And then over in here will appear parameters for each option. So that might sound very complicated, but it's not. Okay, so first of all, we're going to select which button we want to press. So we'll come back to this so you can see what I'm doing. Now you notice up the top here, there's a little slider button, and that says jump to control. So if we turn that on and then start pushing buttons like a madman, you'll see that the control jumps to whichever button it is. So I'm going to push this button here, which the way central control interpolates this Excel, that's button 1, which seems radical. Okay, next we want to know what we're going to control with this button. So from this menu here, these are devices that we can control with the Stream Deck. So obviously we don't want to control the Stream Deck itself, we want to control vMix. And you'll see that depending on what I've got chosen, the options below change. So we're going to go to vMix and we're going to use a new feature in version 3 of Central Control, which is what I'm using, which is the Mix Delegator. Now, if you've got a device that's got a lot of different options, you can search for stuff in the search thing. So if I put in mix there, and this is what we want, set delegated mix. So this button here, I want to make mix 1. This one here, I want to make mix 2, and so on. So we're going to press this button and make sure that we're on button 1. Up here, we're going to have a look and make sure that we've got delegated mix 1, selected mix 1. So delegated mix is the sort of the group of mixes that are controlled, and selected mix is the individual mix itself. So once we've set those two to correctly, we're just going to make sure we've got set delegated mix highlighted and click plus. Now we're going to come along to the second button, and we're still going to want to set delegated mix, but this time we're going to set the selected mix to 2, and we're going to add that. And same again, come across to button 3, increase that to mix 3, make sure we're still on delegated mix, press plus, and finally we'll do the same again, click 4, delegated mix plus. And now if I go through those buttons, you'll see that those change, and you'll also see that the green default color has gone from the buttons as we've now assigned an action to them. Okay, so we've now got our buttons set up to choose between our 4 mixes. Now what we need to do is add a master control mix that we can use to control 1, 2, 3, or 4. And to do that, we're going to make these buttons down the bottom here, program and preview. So let's start with preview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push this button here, and we are going to set that to set mix preview. Now if you look up here, I'll make this big so you can see it, you'll see that currently our mix is still set to 1, 1. Well, if we make it just 1, 1, it will control everything on 1, but we won't get to control the other mixes. So what we're going to do is come up to this mix number here, and we're actually going to take it down to 0. And what that will do is that will give us a master control over all of the other mixes. So we're going to create one switcher surface on here, and that will be able to control all of our mixes. Now let's come on to another part of central control that I particularly like, which is how quickly you can assign buttons. So we want input 1 to start here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 up to here with the buttons. And instead of having to program each one of those individually, we're just going to make sure we start in the right place, which is that button there, 25. We're going to make sure our input number is set to 1. We're going to turn on quick assign, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's all of those assigned. And we're going to do the same with the program. So we're going to go here to make sure we've got number 1 selected for set mix program. We're going to make sure that we start properly here by resetting that back to 1. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let's see if that's worked. Look at that, wonderful. There's all of our program outputs, and there's all of our preview outputs. Excellent. Okay, now we are going to add a cut and a mix button, and we're going to use these buttons here. So I'm going to make this one mix, and so we're going to call that, we can go to auto mix, and again making sure we're still on mix 0. We're going to plus that, so we've now set that. Come down to this button here, we're going to go take mix in central control speak, that is cut. Again, make sure it's mix 0, we're going to set that. Make sure that took. Yep, it definitely did. Yep. Not very often, but every now and again, central control doesn't display the name here. It's a weird little quirk. It's not important. Okay, so we've got all of our program buttons set up. We've got our transition button set up. But it looks terrible, doesn't it? So let's do something about that, and let's go back and color these buttons and give them some names. So we're going to go to Stream Deck XL here, and we're going to go set button feedback. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to set these buttons here for our mixes, and I want those to be dark blue off, and I want them to be red when they're on. And I also want to give them a name. So we're currently on button 1, and I'll call that 1. Okay, so we've got off as blue, on as red, text as 1. We'll move along, and we'll do the same again. Off is blue, on is red, text for that one is 2. Move along again. Sorry, this is very dull, but it's not worth me mucking around speeding this up for you at this time. Come back, here we go, it's 3. And last one, blue there, red there, and 4. And just in case anybody didn't see that menu properly, I'll just bring that up full screen for you. So yeah, so we've just got the default button color, the off button color, the on button color, text if you want to add it, or you can load an image by searching for it. Okay, cool. So if we look back now, we've now got our mixes 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can actually see that those are working because when we push them, the button delegations change. So see that? Now you notice that when I go to 3, there's no lights. That's because on mix 3 currently, the inputs selected are higher than 7. But if I were to select, say, 1 and then 4, and then you can see they came back, we can swap those. Okay, so let's move on to our program and preview. So again, we're going to come up to set button feedback. We're going to start with preview row down here. I'm going to want the off color to be dark green and the on color to be red. Actually, no, let's make this something interesting. Let's make it purple, shall we? And then we'll go along, we'll do the same again. So if you notice, as I move the buttons around, push the buttons here, it automatically jumps around the assignment button here. So as long as you push the right button first, you'll see that you can select the right one. So that's one preview. So we've made it green and purple, and we're going to call that cryptically 1. And then if we go to the button above it, which will be the program button, we're going to have on there, we're going to have as red, and we're going to have off as green. So let's see if that now works. That looks good. And we're going to give this one, again, we're just going to call this 1 because it's the same input. And at this point, I'm going to speed this up because this is going to be really dull because I've got to do all of these. So bear with me, it will take a couple of seconds for you, but it'll take me a little bit. Okay, so I saved you from having to sit through the dullness of me programming all of that, but I wanted you to see me do it. So now let's see if all of our programming has worked correctly. So mix 1, we should be able to control our main mix, which we can, which is fantastic. Okay. Now, can we control mix 2? Should be on mix 2 now, which, if you're not sure, is down here. You can see my mouse. So that's mixing and that's cutting, and we can change the program in mix 2. Now we're going to select mix 3, and as you can see, we can change that, and we can also mix that, and then finally mix 4. We can do all of that, this as well. Whew, job done, got there. So there you go. That is how you can set up 4 mixes in vMix on one controller. Very useful tool. I know we could have done this with different pages in the Stream Deck, but when you're trying to do something really quickly on a show, it's obviously much quicker if we can just hit these buttons here. And I hope you found that helpful. Check out Central Control. I think the website is centralcontrol.io, and have a look at the full feature list. It's a very cool piece of software. I'm only just scratching the surface with it, but it's allowed me to do some very cool things. So that's it. Thanks for watching.